A lot of times clients or sometimes spouses, maybe the spouse that's not super involved in the day-to-day decision-making of finance, looks at an asset map report and says, this is the first time I've ever seen my finances in a way that I could actually consume it. Or they'll say things like, this is the first time I've been able to see this, and it's what I've always wanted. I just didn't know how to ask you for it.
Yeah.
We hear things like that so frequently, and it's like the perfect use case of making a client comfortable, building that relationship, and ensuring that they're not leaving the meeting confused and maybe pretending like they're not.
Hey there, it's Mike Langford. Welcome to another episode of the Modern Financial Advisor Podcast. On this episode of the show, recorded live at the Fearless Investing Summit by Nitrogen Wealth in Denver, Colorado, Alison Susko, VP of Community at AssetMap, joins me for a conversation about the power of simplicity in financial planning. Alison brings nearly 20 years of industry experience to a really important discussion about why your clients don't need a 75-page report. They need something they can actually understand. So we get into AssetMap's exciting new integration with eMoney and Jump AI, and we have a fantastic conversation about the future of multi-generational planning that I think is really going to resonate with you and your community of advisors. Now, before we get to the conversation with Alison, please do make sure you take a moment to subscribe to the Modern Financial Advisor Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, the YouTubes, or wherever you like to get your podcast jam on. And if you have a question or a suggestion for a topic or a guest, hit me up. I'm basically at Mike Langford everywhere on the internet, or you can shoot us an email, podcast@finservmarketing.com. Okay. Let's get to the conversation with Alison Susko. Well, Alison Susko, welcome to the Modern Financial Advisor Podcast. It's wonderful to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here at the conference and to meet you in person and to chat for a few minutes.
It makes me happy. I love it. I love it. And you're a pro here in Denver. This is my first time, as we were talking about before. We click the record button. So I'm going to be picking your brain for like all the cool stuff to do around here. So
yeah,
good stuff.
I'd love to. Well, I'm not an expert, but it's a great city. It's a great city. It's probably my fifth time here, and definitely do some exploring. It sounds like the event they're hosting tonight's going to be awesome. So
can't wait.
Yeah. It's
as long as I get to have some local Denver craft beers. I'm like a beer dude,
Oh yeah,
just known for beer life here.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if you like beer or not, but
I do. I love a good hazy IPA from time to time.
Very good.
That's my
Later
favorite.
on, there'll be photos of us cheersing with our hazy IPA because I'm a big fan as well. This is great. Well, all right. Well, I'm super excited for us to get to meet.
Yep.
I have had Adam Holt, CEO, founder of Asset Map on a show before this. Great dude. Really fun to talk to. So, by the way, he has not had me on his podcast. So
well, they did take a little hiatus, so let's give him a break. No, I'm just kidding. He's a tough act to follow. I'm glad you've had him on, but we have very similar thoughts and feelings about the industry, so it'll be fun. But his podcast is great. You're right. And I think they're picking it back up in 2026.
Does a fantastic job. I love it. I love it. All right. So I want to talk about, I guess, kick things off with a little bit of an exploration of like what you do here, right? As they said in Office Space, because you are the vice president of community at AssetMap. And this is kind of interesting. The audience for this show is financial advisors and wealth management executives who have large populations of financial advisors. I'm not sure that every single one of them knows what a VP of community does. So let's start there. Like, what's kind of the day-to-day life for Alison, the VP of Community?
Goodness. Well, I've been in the industry since college. So I ended up at eMoney Advisor very quickly out of school.
Yeah.
And it was really kind of fate almost. I worked for a bank that owned part of eMoney.
Okay.
And I did a transfer over. So I've worked with advisors and home office folks for the better part of 20 years. And I just became obsessed with it. I love it. And I've made so many relationships over the years that I would kind of call it a combo of partnerships roles. So I would say I'm in partnerships and also relationship building from kind of the back office perspective and the end advisor perspective, making sure everything's singing nicely, how things work together with the different companies that coordinate.
That's cool. That's really neat. So it's a pretty rewarding job to be the person who's like, running the community. Because, it is so funny. We talk so much about technology and you are in a technology company, but it's like at the end of the day, it's a human business.
Oof.
And
what's really interesting about this human business is that financial advisors are, it's all about relationships. It's all about interacting with them. So I'm sure they're picking up a lot of your vibe, what you're putting down.
Well, AssetMap is a very relationship-driven company. So although we're a technology company, we try to say that we're a technology that helps advisors do what they do best, which is build relationships with clients. I mean, technology can get in the way sometimes. It almost becomes overwhelming, and and we never want to be that technology. We want to allow the advisor to be able to boost the relationship with a prospect more quickly, get to that place of trust early on in the relationship using the technology to do it. So we're not focused heavily on detailed data or, things like that. We're uncovering opportunities for better service for the clients and allowing the conversation to flow more easily with technology.
I love it. I'm glad you talked about how technology can get in the way and that can overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
Because that leads me right into my next topic where I want to talk about AssetMap. It's kind of like the origin story. I did talk about this with Adam a couple of years ago, but for those who don't know, AssetMap is built on this kind of simple idea that clients don't need a 75-page report. Right?
No, I'm working on my 9th year at AssetMap. When I started, we had about 8 people. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is really early stage and super fun. And we were still getting big in the broker-dealer space. We mostly had RIAs we were working with. Adam's longtime firm where he was an advisor, AXA Equitable, was a client. But, we've grown into so many more groups since then. And I think the reason for that is because clients are looking for simplicity. They're, when you're confused, you can't make a good decision.
Yeah.
And, financial planning has the ability to go as deep as you need. There are tools out there that, you can do the most detailed estate plan. You can get down to the dollar sometimes at a year in the future to find out if, that's going to be accurate. But at AssetMap, we're all about making good decisions. Are you on track for your goals? If and when things get, a little bit jumbled, are you in a good spot? Clients just want to know if they're okay. And they want to know that they can trust the person that they're working with as an advisor. And the simplicity of AssetMap gets people so engaged.
Yeah. I love that. It is so funny. We do tend to overcomplicate things. And I think sometimes complexity is what people feel like they're selling, right? We just had a conversation with Bob Veris before you. And we kind of talked about the origin of the advisor, going back to the stockbroker days, and the fact that financial products themselves are inherently confusing to the average financial consumer. And so we needed a human being to translate.
Right.
If this is the right asset for you to own, is this the right thing for you to do, right? But I think some advisors translated that into, guess what? I need to show you how smart I am with this big book.
There's a little bit of I think human nature tells you that you want to prove that you've done a good job for someone. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I understand that. And as a longtime, employee of eMoney advisor, they do it better than anybody. They have the absolute best calculators and tools out there. But level setting and, saying, hey, does this all look right to you? Yeah. So many advisors tell us that, and if those of you who aren't familiar with AssetMap, there's a report that lays out everything that's important to the client in basically one financial page. And a lot of times clients or sometimes spouses, maybe the spouse that's not super involved in the day-to-day decision-making of finance, looks at an AssetMap report and says, this is the first time I've ever seen my finances in a way that I could actually consume it. Or they'll say things like, this is the first time I've been able to see this, and it's what I've always wanted. I just didn't know how to ask you for it. Yeah. We hear things like that so frequently, and it's like the perfect use case of making a client comfortable, building that relationship, and ensuring that, they're not leaving the meeting confused and maybe pretending like they're not.
That's a really interesting thing. I've never thought about it. You said it, not specifically said it, but you kind of, the way you just said this is many financial advisors, the reports that they're giving to their client almost need the financial advisor to be with the client to walk
100%.
Through, right?
100%.
Whereas what you just described there is like maybe a spouse didn't attend the latest meeting or whatever, for whatever reason.
It happens
and he
all the
or
time.
she picks it up
Yeah.
and can go, oh, I know what's happening.
We talk a lot about the non-CFO spouse, and and that's not, you never know who that person is in the relationship. Yeah. It could be the husband, the wife. It could be any kind of situation. Every family is different, but there's always someone who takes control of the finances, typically in the household. It's just the way it goes. So that person that tends to be a little bit more on the periphery, they're not going to get engaged with a 75-page report. But if that person who is kind of the driver of the finances goes to meet with the advisor and comes home and says, hey, honey, check out this report, and they can review it together without that professional, I think that's incredible.
You know, it's funny. This is like a long time ago. I can't remember who it was. We were like, listen, we are the only industry that actually speaks Greek to the client. So, it's all Greek to me. We use alpha, beta, and all this type. And thankfully, most advisors have gotten away from that type of stuff a long time ago, right? So, but there is this need now for making it comprehensible, right?
Yeah.
Your client shouldn't have to go to, their favorite AI tool, whether it's a ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, to go explain to me what my advisor just told me.
Right. And maybe you need to have both options. Maybe you have clients that are more analytical or they'd like to see the details. That's great.
Yeah.
But having the ability to kind of distill it down a little bit is really just, again, doing better for the advisor and the client. It allows the advisor to uncover maybe some additional opportunities to better help the client. And it also allows the client to stay better on track for their goals. So we see it as a win-win 100%.
Well, and it fosters the dream, I think, for every advisor is to have an engaged client.
Yeah.
Right. You want, as nice as it is to have a client who never emails you and doesn't ping you, and you're like, sweet, the money just comes in and I haven't heard from the client in a while. It's like, yeah, but that's also the client where one day you get surprised.
Right.
They move their money, right? Having a client who is asking lots of questions, who is going, oh, this is interesting. What if we did this? And asking a lot of other what if questions. That's kind of the name of the game, right?
Clients aren't shopping for another advisor because of a rate of return.
Right.
They are shopping potentially around for another advisor because they never got to know their spouse's advisor, or they never felt like that connection where they really knew what was going on. And, at AssetMap, we have a lot of kind of soft questions built in to the application, or ways that you can interview a client in a really kind of friendly way to build a relationship along with fact finding. So you're fact finding. You're finding out about that old 401k that they don't know what to do with, that's stuck, somewhere that they don't even know. But you're also asking the right questions, and you're building that rapport over time.
I love it. I love it. Now, you mentioned that you came from eMoney.
I did.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Also, apparently you have some big new integrations with eMoney coming, right? So
two of our biggest that we've really launched in the last in the last 6 months, which is super exciting for us. We've been in demand to integrate with eMoney for years. It's been our most highly adopted integration request for the better part of 6 or 7 years. And on both sides, everybody has a roadmap. Everyone has priorities. So the timing actually matched up perfectly for the second half of last year. We launched it in December, and it's become our fastest growing integration of all time. And eMoney is a great partner. Of course, selfishly for me, it was amazing to have that connection back to my old firm, who I respect so much and have lots of friends over there. But advisors are loving it because in its most simple terms, eMoney has some of the best data out there.
Yeah.
They've been aggregating for longer than any other company in the space. So they have a historical amount of data that is so incredible and up to date and clean that now you can send that right from an eMoney plan into the Asset Map report to have that visual conversation in about 10 seconds.
That's
unbelievable.
Awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, you also just had a big integration with Jump AI.
Yeah.
So I guess we're not going to have anybody from Jump AI on this show this weekend. So you are now the advocate.
I could do that. So I'm a past trainer as well. So thankfully I'm good at these things, but we had a lot of fun with this one too. So obviously AI note taking is huge these days. And we, not to, no pun intended, jumped all over the opportunity to work with them.
Pun intended.
Pun intended. Imagine you're in a meeting or you're even prepping for a meeting coming up with a client, you're recording it, and it'll create an asset map based on what you've said. So, you could even pop up your computer and say, hey, I've got Joe coming in a few minutes. I know he has these 7 items.
Yeah.
It'll create the asset map for you. Or you can add it to a 3-way call, the Jump application. You can add it to a Zoom meeting, and it's going to capture all those important things you talk about around their investments and build an asset map behind the scenes.
Awesome.
It's incredible. Yeah.
It is great. It's so, this is the type of efficiency that advisors need, right? But it's also, going back to your origin of community, it's creating a better sense of community with the clients for the advisor, right? For them to more easily integrate the conversations they've had with the client versus just taking a couple of little notes here. It's like, no, this is actually what they said. They can review it afterwards, pull out the true heartfelt meaning. Because I always tell people, like, the number one reason people use a financial advisor or a financial planner is the sleep at night factor.
Validation.
Am I going to be okay? Am I going to make it? That's what I want. I want to know, right? That I'm good, right? And I don't trust myself to be a DIY guy, right? Or DIY lady. So.
And for, even relating back to my role, not only are the integrations great and the API data and all of the behind the scenes aspects that make it happen that I don't have a whole lot of insight into. Everybody has great development teams these days, but I'm able to then, do webinars and hear about all the success people are having, share it with other people, talk to other communities that are using Asset Map and Jump or Asset Map and eMoney and say, hey, here's the success these folks are having. Let's make sure your group is having it as well. And just spreading the knowledge about, how it's creating efficiency and delight with clients and all the things everyone cares about. So it makes my job super fun. Everybody gets to do the development work behind the scenes and I get to talk about it and spread the word, which is what I'm better at than developing things.
That's great. Yeah. I love it. I have to say, I'm kind of the same way. I always talk about, like, this medium in particular. It's evangelism. You're spreading the word about, new, interesting things you're trying to move the needle on. Education, right? Trying to help people understand the how-tos and the whys. And then, engagement, right? That's also a big part of community. Trying to get people to, like, interact with the things we have on the show.
Yeah, and if you're spreading, the word about things that are, driving success for all of our mutual clients, then they end up being evangelists for you.
Yeah.
And it's all positive and it's all good. And so many of the tech partners out there, so many that are here this week, work so well together and make the advisors' lives easier. And even the broker dealers, the large RIAs, we all have the same goals and the same kind of things that we're focusing on, which is important business clients, finding new clients, finding opportunities. And it's all synergistic when you do it together.
That's wonderful. I love it. I love this. It feels like almost like gone are the days of the walled garden, which is really refreshing, right? So a lot of tech companies for a long time were thinking that. And here in this space, it was like that for a while. And then suddenly... I don't know what you want to talk about. The floodgates are open, right? With all companies saying, hey, my clients want to use this other technology. How do we plug it with you?
Not only even the folks that might consider themselves competitors as far as technology goes, everyone works really nicely together. And in addition to that, I do believe that, so many companies out there in the last 2 or 3 years, a big trend I saw was even the large broker dealers have really become more open architecture with what their advisors can use. And they vet them and they make sure that it's a good fit in the tech stack and all of those things, but allowing more choices proves that we're all working together really nicely, and it demands that we all work together and integrate well and make sure that it flows from tech to tech. So I think we're all driving each other to do better things.
Yeah. Love it. I love it. Okay, so now we're at my favorite part of the show, which is kind of like crystal ball question, right? I always love to like, what's next? The future, I've titled this section, The Future of Visual Financial Planning.
Yes.
So you have mapped, not you personally, but Asset Map has mapped 2 million people and, if I'm reading this right, $3.4 trillion in assets. That's a lot. So as you look ahead, like, what's the next evolution for Asset Map? But I think more broadly, kind of where do you see the space going?
I think we went so deep and so complex as an industry for so long that I almost am hearing a trend of, it's great that I can do anything and everything in certain technologies, but I see that a little bit more as a behind the scenes tool, something I use to validate my own work, make sure I'm giving the client a really good advice. But that doesn't necessarily mean you need to give it to them, like you said, that 80-page report. So I almost see the industry trending more towards, let's build the relationship, let's get to know people better, let's involve additional generations in a family, the spouse. Everyone talks about this, right? The great wealth transfer. Well, you're not going to transfer any wealth and keep it with you if you don't know that family member. Yeah. So Asset Map focuses so heavily on, let's talk about everyone who matters to you financially, whether it be grandma who's giving you an inheritance, maybe you have a niece who's a little bit financially dependent on you. Let's get the whole picture laid out. Certainly business interest, how important that is. And that more kind of family holistic approach is something we're doubling down on, and we have been for years. And now everybody's starting to talk about it. So for Asset Map, it's great for us because I see this trend of relationship and simplicity and conversation visuals as really something that's kind of at the forefront, and we're leading it, in my opinion.
I love it. I love the fact you mentioned the multi-generational component of planning. That's something I've also been hearing a lot more of, whereas, it used to be, hey, here's a family unit. And then maybe you bring in, as you said, your children, that'll be like, oh, great, here's your heirs. Here's, brother and sister. But they almost like treated them a little separately.
Yes.
And one of the things I heard recently was one firm was talking about what they're seeing is the younger generation is bringing in the older generation.
Really?
The opposite is happening, right? And in part, that was because they deal with a lot of Hispanic immigrant children of immigrants.
Yeah.
Right? So the parents are here. They've kind of managed their finances.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense.
More internally for a while. And then now they're seeing, the younger generation who's, speaks, bilingual.
Right.
And they've known the American life. They are like, hey, I need a financial advisor. They're starting to bring in the older generation.
That's so cool. I haven't heard that yet. And I try to think about all these scenarios that make sense for the relationships within the clients kind of throughout the life cycle of the client. And we've had a huge demand over the years to say, well, you map out the assets so nicely in Asset Map, but can you help us map out the family?
Yeah.
Because we've got 3 generations that we're working with. It's a blended family. Maybe there was a divorce, a remarriage. We've got half children and stepchildren, and no family looks the same, right?
Right.
So how can an advisor remember from meeting to meeting, what does this family's makeup look like? So we actually built what's called relationship maps just a few months ago to be able to kind of build a family tree, assign all the assets that belong to whoever in that family tree and asset map relationships map, so the advisor can pop it up at a meeting and say, do I have this right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's going to happen with, the 3rd generation, and, is there an inheritance coming? And it's giving them the ability to reference something visual to tie to hold the whole family together, which is something else we recently built and has been a huge demand for us.
That is so powerful because going back to what we said a little bit earlier, that comfort level, that sleep at night factor, right? Well, look, money at the end of the day is for living life, right? It's not just, I guess for some people, it probably can be the game, look how much money I have, that type of deal. But helping people manage their finances is about helping them manage the life they want to live, right? It's not just about who has how much, right?
And I'll tell you something right now. If I think about my own mother, who's in her early 70s, she could care less what happens to me and my sister at this point. Only the grandkids matter.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
She knows we're good.
Priorities have changed.
We're off and running. We've got careers. We're doing well. Everything's fine. All she cares about is my niece and nephew. And that, I'm exaggerating a little bit. But if you were to pop up an asset map report for my mom and her husband and say, does this all look right? She'd say, where the heck are my grandkids?
Yeah.
If they weren't on that map. So that's skipping a generation. Of course, she wants to talk about us too, but you see my point. That has shifted her priority to make sure, are these two going to be okay? Are they going to have enough to go to college? Should we be saving for them? So it has adjusted a little bit as far as her priorities go. And I think that proves that, the whole generational thing is important.
I love that. By the way, I've seen the exact same thing with my parents and my kids. You know what I mean? Because my sister doesn't have any kids, and I only have one sister. So it's a very similar scenario where all of a sudden they're like, okay, you're good. Your life are stable. Let me talk about these grandchildren. What are they doing here? Are they going on these trips? So they need fundraising for this, all this type of stuff.
So you have to have them on the asset map.
Well, and then this is I don't want to say it's a new thing, but you mentioned, my mom and her husband, so I assume it's
That's right.
That's a type of deal. So my parents got a late in life divorce.
Oh,
they were married for almost 50 years.
Oh.
And now they're both remarried. That's not something you see all the time, but apparently is becoming more common, the gray divorce or whatever you want to call it, And, because you raise your kids, whatever, things are happening else, and you're like, hey, you know what?
It's been good.
Maybe for the home stretch, I want to do something different, right? So I'm thinking to myself, imagine being their advisor, and also it's oh, now it's not only do you have going to decouple your commingled assets,
but you still care about a lot of the same people. And oh, by the way, you might get remarried. And oh, by the way,
and then you got they are both remarried, and then you got new people and new. There's no other way to say this. Grandchildren light. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Both my dad's wife and my mom's new husband, well, they have grandchildren on that. And it's not fair that they don't.
And
treat
how is
them-
their financial advisor supposed to keep track of who belongs to who?
Right, yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
So there are so many changes with the family structure. When a lot of the advisors in our space probably got started, it was a husband, wife, and 2.5 kids.
Yeah.
And it's just not accurate anymore. So we've really had to focus on how can we make the advisor be able to go from meeting to meeting and immediately remind himself, herself, that this is what this family has going on. And they're able to ask all the right questions, which again, builds relationship.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's fun.
This is great.
It's something I think is definitely going to be more popular, and I'm glad we're ahead of the curve because that one feature that we released probably at the end of the last year, mapping out the family along with the assets, has been hugely adopted because it's a pain point. I think it really is.
I think I couldn't agree more. And it's funny. I'm glad that this is building on the conversations I mentioned I just had with Bob before this, because the industry is changing, right? It's going, it got its roots in selling product, and then it moved into advising on assets under management. We still do that.
Yeah.
And then it started getting into holistic financial planning and so forth. And now that's even growing, right? We're getting more into making sure the people are taken care of.
Yeah.
So
and I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
This is good stuff. Well, Alison Susko.
Yes.
This has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the Modern Financial Advisor podcast. Before I let you go, people are going to want to follow along.
Oh, yeah.
So AssetMap.com.
Asset-map.com. If you Google us, you'll find AssetMap, but it's asset-map.com. We've got a new website rolling out too, which is awesome. So that's coming in the next couple of weeks. And always feel free to connect with me too as, the community person at AssetMap. I get to a lot of events. We host a lot of great events. And I love connecting with folks, whether they be advisors or back office people or other tech partners. I absolutely love getting to know what else is going on out there. So always find me on social media.
Fantastic. We'll get your LinkedIn linked up in the show notes and people will connect to you.
Well, so nice chatting with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for listening to and or watching this episode of the Modern Financial Advisor podcast. It's always fantastic to have you with us. Huge props to Alison Susko for coming on the show and sharing her insights on visual financial planning, client engagement, and where the industry is headed with multi-generational relationship management. I hope you got as much out of this episode as I did. Awesome stuff. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the show, please do make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us some comments, right? We want to hear from you what you think. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Make sure you be nice to each other. We'll see you next time on the Modern Financial Advisor podcast. See ya. Bye.